So for today's adventure, we're up at White Pass, so we're parked just west of the summit. We're going to hike the Pacific Crest Trail North into Deer and Sand Lakes today, so a little snowshoe trip. You can't park at the usual trailhead, so you have to park out on the main road on Highway 12. And then you have to hike into the groomed area for White Pass Nordic Center. You don't need the Nordic Center pass if you're headed through to the Pacific Crest Trail. So anyways, today's adventure, Deer and Sand Lake via Pacific Crest Trail North at White Pass. So to hike into Deer and Sand Lake from the Pacific Crest North Trailhead at White Pass, this time of year you have to park out on Highway 12 as close to the road into the trailhead as you can get, and then you just head north. There will usually be a little packed pathway that leads you north onto the groomed trail system for the White Pass Nordic area, and then you head counterclockwise on the White Pass Nordic Center groomed road, and from there you just hike a few minutes and you look for the blue sign that points you onto the Pacific Crest Trail. As long as your plan is to hike the Pacific Crest Trail and not the White Pass Nordic Center's groomed trail system, you don't need to purchase a pass at the Nordic Center. You just hike in until you're on the Pacific Crest Trail. You head north and you hike into Deer and Sand Lakes, both of which will be snowed over this time of year. Usually Sand Lake is iced over and snowed over enough you can't even tell it's a lake. It just looks like a snowy meadow. There's no fabulous views on this trail, but it is a fun little winter snowshoe or cross-country ski. So a great little hike to do this time of year and get outside for a little bit. We have fabulous weather today. The sun's out and you can't ask for much better. Kind of a bluebird day. So the route into Deer Lake is usually pretty well traveled, so it isn't uncommon to find it packed down enough to be easy to follow. But it's also the case that if there's been a recent snowstorm, it can be a difficult route to follow. So it's always the best bet during the winter months to have downloaded the map of the route onto your phone so that you can use your phone to navigate if need be. Today we've got beautiful weather conditions. The trail is well packed, and it'll probably be like this at least until we get to Deer Lake. And then sometimes the route from Deer Lake to Sand Lake will be a bit more difficult to follow. So just over a mile in, we cross the boundary into the O.Douglas Wilderness area. Just past that boundary sign, you'll hit the trail junction with the Dark Meadow Trail that takes you down to Dog Lake. We're gonna stay left at that trail junction on the Pacific Crest Trail. The Dog Lake Trail isn't well used this time of year anyways, so it's pretty hard to get mixed up usually at this point. So about 1.7 miles, just off trail. I stepped just off trail. There's a meadow here that during the summer is really fabulous. And you can see even in the winter, it looks really beautiful. What a beautiful day, oh my word. So we're about 2.1 miles, and there's a little fork in the route here. If I stay straight, I'm staying on the Pacific Crest Trail, which is the summer route. But you can see that there's a pretty deep rut going off to the right. And what's really common in the winter is for people to take shortcuts because of the snow. They're able to cut cross country very easily. So pretty tempting to use that one today. I'm going to use a shortcut though when we get up to Deer Lake instead of using this one right here. But if you wonder why there's a fork, if you see forks off the main trail, that's what it is. In the winter, people, because you can just follow the map on your mapping app, you can just cut cross country because the snow gives you that great leave no trace, durable surface to travel on during the winter. So here's the winter view of Deer Lake. We've got some folks out on the ice doing some ice fishing. Looks like a good time. A great little area here for camping, summer or winter. Anyways, winter view of Deer Lake. And here's a little bit better look at the meadow that's by Deer Lake. I think the meadow by itself is worth walking in to see during the winter. So we're about 2.5 miles probably right now. We're still on the Pacific Crest Trail, walking from Deer Lake to Sand Lake. The Pacific Crest Trail itself is actually more packed down than it usually is on this particular section of trail. It's not uncommon for the trail to be packed down really well getting into Deer Lake, and then the route from Deer to Sand Lake is a little bit tougher, but it looks like there's been pretty heavy traffic, so the trail conditions are about as good as they ever are. So here we are about 3 miles in. We've arrived at Sand Lake, which during the winter looks more like a mountain meadow than it does a lake. It's a very shallow lake. There's no fish in it like there are in Deer Lake. And if there's a pack track like there was today, then this is usually about where it ends. So if you hike past this on the Pacific Crest Trail, you'll typically be breaking your own trail, and the effort involved increases significantly. Anyway, Sand Lake's in the bag today. This was our destination, so we're gonna take a quick break and head back out to the car. All right, so we're almost back to the White Pass Nordic area, so I'm going to need to get the pooch back on a leash before we get into all the people. So I'm going to go ahead and call our Deer and Sand Lake snowshoe hike in the bag. It's a great winter snowshoe route. Hardly anybody on the trail today. I think there were 5 other groups, so plenty of solitude. And as always, get outside.